I mean, if you think about it, building a skyscraper is, uh, it's mathematically pretty straightforward.
Right, yeah. You pour the concrete, bolt the beams together.
Exactly. The architect points to the blueprint, and they can basically guarantee the foundation is going to hold because, the variables are controlled.
Static
Yeah,
materials.
static materials. But then when you step into the world of human connection, like long-term
Right.
relationships, you are trying to build this towering structure in the absolute dark.
And out of highly volatile materials.
Right. You're building it out of shifting emotions, external stressors, and honestly, the blueprints are completely invisible.
It requires a fundamentally different set of engineering tools, really. Because
Right.
if you try to build a lifelong partnership using the same rigid assumptions you'd use for a physical building, you're going to end up with cracks in the foundation before the roof is even on.
And that is exactly why we are here today. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Mm.
Today, we are dissecting a genuine masterclass on how to actually build that invisible structure.
It's a really crucial topic.
It is. We are looking at a source document simply titled honesty.docs. And
Yeah.
look, the title is very understated, but the contents are basically a survival guide for modern connection.
Oh, absolutely.
So whether you are navigating a marriage, or maybe you're re-entering the dating pool, or you're just, relentlessly curious about the psychology of why some relationships thrive while others completely implode, these notes are your shortcut.
And I think the urgency of this really can't be overstated because modern relationships are operating in a pressure cooker.
Oh, for sure.
We are fighting these incredibly fragmented schedules, constant digital distractions that just, hijack our attention, and this whole culture of hyper
That's
individualism.
exhausting just thinking about it.
It is. Cultivating genuine, lasting connection today requires an intentionality that honestly previous generations didn't necessarily have to articulate. We're fighting a lot of noise.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the source material cuts right through that noise by zeroing in on three structural necessities. Not like romanticized ideals, but absolute load-bearing pillars.
Honesty, commitment, and vulnerability.
Right. And if we look at where a relationship starts, the document argues that everything hinges on a complete redefinition of honesty.
Yeah, because we culturally define honesty as a passive state, right? The baseline assumption is usually if I didn't tell a direct malicious lie today, I was honest.
Which is a pretty low bar.
Very low. But the document redefines honesty as a highly active, continuous practice. It calls it intentional transparency.
Intentional transparency.
Yeah, it means actively volunteering your concerns, admitting those micro mistakes before they're discovered, and deliberately choosing not to hide important contextual info by, omission.
Okay, wait, let me stop you there, because active intentional transparency sounds exhausting.
People do say that.
Right. I mean, if my partner is constantly updating me on every single unfiltered thought, or every fleeting micro concern, or admitting every tiny misstep the second it happens, isn't that just weaponized oversharing?
That's a very common reaction.
Because it sounds less like building a foundation and more like emotional dumping that would just create constant anxiety.
And that is exactly the trap a lot of people fall into when they hear the word transparency. But active honesty is not about vomiting your internal monologue onto your partner.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, the document actually distinguishes between unfiltered dumping, which is really just about relieving your own anxiety, and intentional transparency, which is about building mutual trust.
So it's curated in a way.
Exactly. Intentional transparency focuses on sharing the things that actually affect the shared ecosystem of the relationship.
I like that. It's kind of the difference between shining a harsh interrogation spotlight in your partner's face versus just leaving the porch light on so they can see where they are.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Right. Like you aren't blinding them with every thought, but you're illuminating where you currently stand.
The porch light is a brilliant way to frame it. Because what's fascinating here is the psychological mechanism behind why that porch light is so crucial. It comes down to how the human brain handles ambiguity.
And it doesn't handle it well.
No, not at all. The brain is a prediction machine.
Hmm.
It hates missing information. So when you operate with that passive honesty we talked about, keeping quiet, withholding how you feel, leaving gaps, your partner's brain naturally tries to fill in those blanks.
And it rarely fills those blanks with positive assumptions.
Never.
I mean, if my partner comes home and is unusually quiet, my brain doesn't instantly go, oh, they must be silently marveling at how much they love me.
Right, you don't jump to the fairy tale.
No. My
Yeah.
brain immediately goes to, what did I do wrong? Or are they pulling away?
And that is the evolutionary negativity bias happening in real time. We are biologically wired to scan for threats.
So ambiguity feels like danger.
Exactly. Ambiguity in a relationship registers to your nervous system as a potential threat. So the silent killer of relationships isn't usually these massive, dramatic betrayals.
Just the little things.
Yeah, it's the slow accumulation of those negative assumptions. So active honesty, leaving that porch light on, it bypasses your partner's threat detection system. It basically starves the negativity bias of oxygen.
Wow. Starves it of oxygen. I love that.
And over time, that creates a profound baseline of nervous system regulation. You just know what you're coming home to.
Okay, so active honesty establishes that baseline trust. It soothes the nervous system. But let's be realistic here. A long life together means honesty is inevitably going to reveal some pretty difficult truths.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Your partner's going to tell you something you really don't want to hear, or you're going to hit a period of intense friction. So if honesty is the concrete core of this structure, something else has to be the steel framework that keeps the building from snapping in half during a hurricane.
And our source identifies that steel framework as commitment.
Right. And it defines it in a way that kind of throws cold water on everything we're taught.
Yeah, the text forces a pivot here that challenges basically every romantic comedy produced in the last 50 years.
Seriously.
It separates commitment entirely from romantic feeling. It frames commitment strictly as a conscious cognitive choice.
A choice, not a feeling.
Yes, the active decision to invest your resources, your time, and your loyalty into the partnership, regardless of extreme friction or the natural fluctuation of feelings.
See, but we've been completely conditioned to believe the opposite. We're taught that commitment is the byproduct of overwhelming emotion. Like, if the spark is bright enough, commitment just happens automatically.
Which is a neurological impossibility.
Wait, impossible.
Completely. Because the spark is largely driven by this cocktail of dopamine, oxytocin, and cortisol that floods your brain during the honeymoon phase.
Right, the new relationship energy.
Yeah, and it's biologically unsustainable. Your brain literally cannot maintain that level of chemical intensity for 50 years. It would fry your nervous system.
So you'd literally short circuit.
Essentially, yes. So when that chemical high naturally subsides, couples who conflate feeling with commitment suddenly panic. They think, well, the feeling is gone, so the commitment must be over.
Okay, so it's like if romantic feelings are the weather, right, changing day to day, then commitment is the climate. It's the stable environment that lets you know you won't freeze when a storm hits.
That's a great way to look at it.
Or it's like relying on feelings for commitment is like driving a high-performance luxury car and assuming the exhilaration of the speed will just fuel the engine forever.
Right, eventually you run out of gas.
Yeah. Commitment isn't the feeling of driving the car. Commitment is the mutual agreement to pull over and